Anybody home? Come on out, everybody! It's time to play! Hello!
As we trek along with our year-by-year breakdown, we present to you the 10 best horror films of 1995. This is the year where HBO gave us their first Tales from the Crypt movie. We got a super weird Clive Barker movie, though, to be fair, all his movies are pretty freaking weird. And we got a lot more. Let's get into it. Gather around for a ghost story that'll make you tingle and doubt your sense of sanity. Haunted is a simple yet complex film that manages to grasp the crux of a situation and embroiders it from a single thread into a maze of shadows and half-truths that can and do terrorize. The story follows a skeptical professor who visits a remote British estate to debunk allegations of psychic phenomena, but soon finds himself haunted by a ghost from his own past. This is a modest little film that definitely deserves a look-see, especially if you like things that go bump in the night. Not only is its title an obvious riff on Tales from the Crypt, but so too is its frame story, which features its own sort of crypt keeper in Mr. Sims, a mortuary attendant that's visited by a trio of young drug dealers. While these three are itching to buy a stash of the shit from Sims, the elderly mortician instead decides to play horror story host by revealing the macabre details behind the latest corpses to arrive at the funeral home. Each victim fell prey to supernatural circumstances of some sort, and it soon becomes clear that this trio has stumbled into a sinister haunt whose true horrors have yet to be unleashed. Tales from the Hood presents 4 urban-themed horror stories, centered on concepts such as police brutality, domestic abuse, racism, and gang violence. Today, the film's best remembered story is likely KKK Comeuppance, which features a white racist terrorized by ambulatory black slave dolls, a kind of off-kilter tribute to 1975's Trilogy of Terror. Everyone involved created something special here, and it's a small shame that their film didn't birth a recurrent series. And we're just going to pretend that Tales from the Crypt Part 2 doesn't exist.
Oh, jeez! I've been waiting for you boys.
Set in a gritty, real-life New York City, alcoholic Sam meets up with a modern-day succubus who marks him and controls his will. As his world unravels, he slowly figures out what is happening and has to figure out what to do. So, what is Habit about? Vampires? Alcoholism? Addiction? Urban disconnectedness? The oppressive, nameless fears of metropolitan life? Sex? Disease? Or is it all about Mars, Venus, and the great chasm between the sexes? The answer is yes to all of these and more. The film possesses a modern timelessness, more concerned with character than plot. Some might complain about the leisurely pace, but each scene has its rewards, especially upon repeat viewings.
Vampirism is everywhere. It is hiding in our hearts, Sam. It is at the bottom of a bottle or a needle in the arm. It is 500 channels of insipid cultural dribble, the advertising and gluttony.
Similar to the previous entry on this list, and Abel Ferrara's take on the vampire genre, vampirism is a metaphor for addiction. Ferrara explores the mean streets of New York once again. Amongst dope peddlers and junkies listening to Cypress Hill, the philosophy student Kathleen is bitten by a vampire by the name of Casanova. This is not a movie for the faint-hearted, but then Abel Ferrara's films never are. This bizarre and intense picture operates at a number of levels. First of all, as a suitably blood-festooned vampire flick, although the word vampire is never mentioned. Secondly, it operates as a philosophical reflection on human evil and redemption. And finally, as an amusing take on certain aspects of university life, probably best appreciated by those directly involved in that institution. Scary, definitely comical. This could be the most pretentious B movie ever, and that's meant as a compliment. Taking the basic concept of H.P. Lovecraft's The Outsider and building a powerful, gruesome drama around it, Stuart Seth Gordon's unfortunately titled Castle Freak is a gem in direct-to-video horror, coming to you from the good folks at Full Moon. This is the tale of a broken family that finds their dysfunction made manifest in the form of a ghoulish, cannibalistic freak prowling an ancient castle. Chained in a tiny room is a pale-skinned, long-haired monstrosity, a once-human freak who has spent his life in shackles for some unknown crime. But now, he's breaking out. In a particularly icky sequence, our monster tears off his own thumbs in order to shed his chains and returns to the surface world. Glorious mayhem ensues. Billy, a mute makeup artist working on a slasher film shot in Moscow, is locked in the studio after hours. While there, she witnesses a brutal murder and must escape capture. Plot twists galore follow as Billy tries to stay alive. In many ways, Mute Witness would make for the perfect double feature companion to Brian De Palma's Blowout. That film similarly toys with movie magic and filmmaking, although it has a decidedly crueler tone and outcome than this one. In that way, they infinitely complement one another, for you could have your soul crushed by Blowout and then have it uplifted again by watching this film immediately after. Regardless of what he made subsequently, director Anthony Waller deserves praise for so perfectly knocking this film out of the park. It is beautifully shot, expertly plotted, and wonderfully performed from start to finish. Seek it out when you have the chance. A group of scientists try to track down and trap a killer alien seductress by the name of Syl before she successfully mates with a human. An enjoyable creature feature where the creature just happens to mask itself as a beautiful, often naked blonde. Species is nothing more than a big budget exploitation flick, but has plenty of great shock moments. In one scene, Syl tries to mate with the man she meets after a car accident. They swim in his pool where Syl forces him to open his swimming trunks in order to copulate, but he refuses. After being interrupted, she kills the poor sap, morphing into her alien form, a mutant with tentacles on her shoulders and back, and flees naked into the forest without being seen. Species ingeniously combines the schlocky fun of 50s sci-fi flicks with the foreboding tactics of Alien and the cautionary allure of looking for Mr. Goodbar. A private detective gets more than he bargains for when he encounters a performer whose amazing illusions captivate the world, but they are not really what everyone thinks. Based on his own short story, The Last Illusion, this is Clive Barker directing his own stuff, so you know what to expect. Extreme physical and psychic self-mortification, occult transhumanism, obsessed and psychopathic villains seeking forbidden knowledge, whips, chains, acupuncture needles, gratuitous nudity, bloody phallic symbology, and so on. This is one strange movie. At the scene of a bizarre murder, a LA homicide detective discovers a lethal heavenly prophecy now being fulfilled on Earth. Generally, religion and horror are the perfect mix. Just look at The Omen or The Exorcist. Religion can add real depth to a horror, and whether you're a religious person or not, it does add some substance and creepiness that a simple slasher film cannot quite get right. Religious horrors are dripping with mystery and suspense, and tend to be carried along by an interesting and damn clever story. The prophecy lives up to the religious horror expectations and surpasses them.
It's unusual to see someone your age in a church on a weeknight. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a sign of excellent character. You're not from here.
What are you doing?
Looking. Something.
Based on a 1950s EC comic series of the same name, HBO's horror anthology show Tales From The Crypt was a huge hit with genre fans when it premiered in 1989. From a voodoo dabbling prostitute to a killer Santa Claus, the show offered fans something new and gruesome every week. It only made sense that they would eventually make the move to the big screen. Their first film was suitably titled Demon Night. The plot is simple and sweet. A man named Frank is on the run from the Collector, a demon hell-bent on acquiring a mythical key that he possesses. With nowhere else to go, Frank holds up in an old bed and breakfast along with half a dozen other people. Under assault by a horde of demons, they must survive the night and keep the key from the Collector's hands. This film gets a lot of unnecessary flack thrown its way. However, Demon Knight manages to deliver a fun, solidly crafted supernatural horror flick that stands as one of the most underrated genre entries of the 90s. It has a great cast, genuinely impressive practical effects, and sharply drawn, though expectedly broad given the genre, characters. It's a fast-paced, energetic ride that you shouldn't be ashamed to love.
Now that's entertainment!
Once again, thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to share your favorite movie of the year in the comment section